Welcome back, everyone, to Talking Devils, number one independent podcast, Manchester United podcast, brought to you by talkingdevils.co.uk. I am your host, Keane, and on this lovely Saturday morning, I am joined by two former Manchester United players, joined here by Lee Lawrence and also Phil Marsh, here to talk all things Manchester United. We're going to review the Arsenal game on Thursday night. We're also going to talk the beginning of the Ralf Rangnick era, which does take place tomorrow afternoon against Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. And also, we will be discussing Michael Carrick departing from Manchester United after 15 years at the club. So, a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to dissect this morning. So, glad to have the two lads on here on this early Saturday morning. First of all, Lee, haven't talked to you in a week. How's performed? How's your week been?
Everything's been good, mate. Thank you very much. Good that we got back to winning ways, obviously, against Arsenal. Give us all a little pick up what we needed, I think. But yeah, everything on my side, mate. Had a nice week, and I'm off out there in Manchester tonight, so that's even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm literally just back from Manchester myself, and not like going there, whether it's for a match or where you're going there on a trip itself. It's a beautiful city, so absolutely bang on. And Phil, yourself, usually you're always busy. Big game today as well, for yourself, and also as Wayne's pointed out in the comments section as well. You're in the Christmas spirit there at the Christmas tree behind you in the background, so you're all in spirit today.
Yeah, good, mate. All good. Obviously, looking forward to my game this afternoon. And yeah, just put the tree up the other day with the girls and stuff. So just thought I'd bring that little bit of Christmas festivities into the podcast today.
Hold on.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, here we go. Lee's got one as well.
Yeah.
I'm in my lad's room. It's the only place we get a decent signal, and my lad's decorated his room up all over the gaff, but you can't see it.
So Phil has the tree up, Lee has the sticks. I've nothing Christmassy, so I'm technically right now. I'm the Grinch right now. I'm the Grinch of the podcast right now. I'm gonna have to. I'm putting up my tree today, so now next week's podcast I will have Christmas decorations on. Don't worry. Might even have a little Christmas background or something in the background of the stream here today. But here to talk all things United, and look, this past 7 days, in the previous podcast, we were talking about a whirlwind of emotions. We were talking about kind of unsure where we were going to go. Obviously, there was talk Rangnick was coming in, but we didn't have the official announcement. Fast forward a week, we have the official announcement, and we all know he's set to be in the dugouts this Sunday against Palace. However, we did have a game Thursday at Old Trafford against Arsenal, and we were back to winning ways with an entertaining 3-2 win. Let's come to you firstly. Just in terms of the game itself, obviously, for Michael Carrick, we all thought this could be his final game, though, as interim manager. But we also did have we also thought he'd go in kind of and be Rangnick's assistant. On the back, obviously, getting 3 points and him steadying the ship as kind of the interim boss. What are your feelings about Michael leaving the football club, and what would you make of kind of his time, and what would be your memories of Carrick at the football club?
Yeah, well, look, Carrick is Man United through and through. Since he come to the club, he's been a great servant of the club. It was bittersweet really when I seen that he'd decided to leave. I think he's gone out with a lot of dignity in what he's done. It was all over the media, the press, and social media about with Ollie going. It weren't just Ollie's fault. There was a lot of input. With Carrick and things like that, and a lot of people saying that he should have gone with him. I think he's took the moral high ground. He's made a decision upon his own back, and fair play to him. He's had 3 good results against 3 good teams these last few weeks. It looks like he's steadied them a little bit more. Dropped a few players which Ollie didn't seem like he wanted to drop. And yeah, look, he did a real good job. He's been a real good servant to Man United, a Man United guy. It's a sad day when anyone who's been at the club for so long leaves, but I think it's probably necessary. I think it's I've been thinking about this a lot. I think the reason we all love Man United, especially the ex-players, is you always feel part of that club. The saying "once a Red, always a Red" really goes without saying. Me and Phil was at a dinner do at Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago, 16 years after we both left. It's a long time, 16 years, and to go back and still feel appreciated by the club it's special. Man United is a special place, and they look after their own, which is great. But I do think it's time now that we bring some outside influence in, which we have done with Ralf Rangnick, and I only think it's a positive move. And let's see what happens. But listening to what he says on the press conferences and the way, I'm sure we'll talk about this more in depth in a bit, but his philosophies and things like that, it looks like it's for me a very positive move for the club.
Yeah, I think with Ragnick, for me, especially listening in the press conference yesterday, he spoke with so much conviction. Like, he spoke conviction. You can see, like, what his plan is, his outline is, in terms of the way he wants to play football. And as you rightly mentioned, the outside influence is what we need. And it looks like we're going to get that Rangnick coming in. The fact he's coming in as an interim manager and then going into consultancy role for 2 years. Looks like we're going in a different direction and an exciting one in my book. But Phil, in terms of like when you actually entered the first team, yourself, obviously you were around Carrick yourself. It would have been kind of in around that time when Carrick was just after signing from Tottenham Hotspur. When being with him on the training ground and kind of the style of midfield player that he was, many Manchester United fans would discover him kind of as a underrated midfield player at the club and kind of call him like a Rolls Royce in the midfield. From training with him, what was he like on the training ground?
Yeah, I'd definitely agree with that. I think he was very underrated. I think, he was a model professional on and off the pitch. Really nice guy as well. Somebody, again, who you could speak to and he would, always offer his advice and sort of, give you that bit of time to sort of speak to him. But yeah, on the pitch, he never did anything really spectacular. But what he did do was, he always made angles and give like other teammates options, and he was the sort of person that a lot of the play went through. He'd, be the guy that was dictating the play, switching play, keeping the ball ticking over. And, for me, especially, when you look at the midfield players that sort of was around at that time, like to Scholes and Keane, maybe he did go under the radar a little bit for what he did and what he gave to Manchester United, because in training, I remember him, and he never used to give the ball away. Everything he did, there was quality, and again, I think he was somebody who was probably not appreciated as much as others because of he's like sort of an unsung hero again, if you like, because he didn't do anything that you'd probably remember sort of like a spectacular goal or magnificent bit of skill. But what he did do was keep that ball moving, and he was a key part of that team in terms of, the way they wanted to play.
Yeah, and I think, especially if you talk about Carrick in terms of his time at the football club, I think many of us probably didn't appreciate him until the latter end of his career, when we kind of noticed how crucial he actually was. Because, like, in his early United career, we had the likes of Ronaldo's, you had Rooney's, you obviously had Scholes, Giggs. You had all these players who were these big star names. One thing people probably slept on was Carrick was one of them players that kept us ticking, who would make that first line break and pass, so to keep that sustained level of pressure there. I think that's one thing you kind of notice, especially when we look at the 2012-13 season, which arguably I think is probably his best season in a United shirt. He was absolutely unbelievable that season. And people really started giving him his colours then in terms of his quality as a Manchester United player. So 100%. I'm sad to see him go. In terms of him leaving the club, I was hoping he'd probably learn off Ragnick and then maybe go on and manage elsewhere and kind of really gain experience. Because one thing I've kind of noticed in the few games interim charge, he has something about him. The way he speaks in the press conference, in terms of that, in terms of like the way he has teams tactically set up in the last couple of games. I think he has something about him. I think if he learned off a manager like Ragnick, who has a particular set of style play that's different to what he learned under Ollie and Mourinho as an assistant coach, that he can maybe incorporate that into his overall coaching philosophy himself. So, like, look, I'm sad to see him go. But look, obviously, you spend 15, 16 years at a club. Maybe he needs kind of a break away from football as a player and a coach. Maybe he kind of needs that kind of mental break, maybe, because you're in the game so long and you haven't had a break. Maybe he just needs that year or 18 months or whatever it may be, and then then come back to another football club as a coach, and maybe go off and get his own experience off in out on his own, such as what likes of Rooney has been doing at the moment at Derby, and other former Manchester United players who have gone out and pursued coaching careers. So 100% sad to see him go, but look, we all know he's a great player for the football club, model professional, and as I said, like a Rolls Royce in the midfield, and someone who definitely was underrated by many United fans in terms of his quality as a football player. But just kind of reflecting on the match itself, obviously, we did win 3-2. I was at the game itself, and for anyone watching on telly as well, very entertaining game, end to end. In terms of like certain players' performances, I did pick up a couple of things at the game, but Jaden Sancho, and we were actually just talking about him off camera in terms of his kind of resurgence in form in the last couple of weeks. Lee, I'll just come to you on this. Like we said at the start of the season, we were excited to see Jaden kind of come into this team and really show what we were missing in terms of a wide player who can give us width, give us pace, and make us more direct in attack. At the start of the season, we kind of discussed about his poor form, and now we're now seeing kind of the Sancho's at Dortmund, and he has a history of kind of starting seasons slow in terms of he always picks up his best form from November to December. What are your thoughts about Jaden's performance on Thursday in terms of his quality and in terms of his creativity, and just also his overall form in the last kind of 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, we've been calling for it for a good few months now, haven't we, that Jaden gets a run in his right position. We've been saying there's no point buying a player what we think is going to have all this, this potential and this show what he can do at Dortmund without giving him a run of games to get himself up to speed in the Premier League. And he looks like now, with a bit of luck, everything crossed, because I think he could be a great player for us. It looks like he's getting a run of games in his rightful position, and it looks like he's turning a corner a little bit. For me, it looks like he's a confidence player. Like I say, it does take him a little bit of time to get going. It looks like that's happened again this season. Hopefully, it's a turning point. But we were just discussing it before we come live on air. For me, he probably needs someone to put his arm around him and show the belief that he doesn't need to get up to speed or do something magnificent in a match or score an handful of goals before he kicks on. He's a high profile player. We want him as a Man United club and a Man United fan. We want him to kick on straight away. All the best players can do it. I'm sure we will do, and I'm sure under Ralf that's going to come out. But it does look like he's improving. He looks like he's getting to the player we all seen at Dortmund. We've seen the press conference. We know that Ralf Rangnick does like him, because I believe he tried to sign him at Leipzig before he went over to Dortmund. He looks like he's a fan of him. He looks like he'll get much more opportunities underneath him, and hopefully he'll give him a shot to show the potential, and hopefully become one of our great wide players which we've had over the years.
Yeah, 100%. And I think in this Rangnick system of pressing and counter pressing and to sustain pressure, you're going to see Jaden Sancho play a more prominent role than he has done maybe earlier on in the season, because if you look at United's pressing stats, he's our highest presser, up there with like Fernandes and funnily enough, Paul Pogba, in terms of sustained levels of pressure, in terms of our highest presser of the ball. So like, I think if you look at that style of play, Jaden is definitely going to be well needed in this team. Not only that, like, he has creativity. Like, what Rangnick likes is to win the ball back, to win the ball back quickly, and then within 8 seconds, create a chance. That's the way his philosophy is. So if you have a manager like that, you need quick, creative players, and Jaden Sancho fits that profile tenfold. He does have all them attributes, and like, watching him up close and personal myself on Thursday night, like, I could see his ball control was second to none. His position, the way he'd use his body to keep the ball and retain possession, like he's quite good at that. So, like, for me, I'm excited to see what he does under Rangnick, and I've been really impressed him, obviously, with the Villarreal game and the Chelsea game. He played quite well, and the way he dropped the shoulder to kind of put the ball past Mendy against Chelsea was fantastic. It was a well taken finish, and his performance against Arsenal, he had their fullbacks on toast. So 100% excited to see what he is like now in this new era under Rangnick. And
the other thing I noticed just before, obviously I forget to say it, is it looks like what I've seen against Arsenal. It kind of, what I've been calling for a good while is get the ball into the box. We've got Ronaldo, obviously we've got Cavani when he comes in. It looked like we were scared to put the ball in the box. What I noticed, it looked like if he had a chance to get it in there quickly, he was he was putting it in against Arsenal, which again, for what we've got as a team, can only be a good thing and a good attribute to have.
Yeah, definitely. And like when you have like one of the best headers of the ball in the world in Cristiano, and like he's the best finisher in world football, why wouldn't you be putting balls into the box? I think that's something that you do need. You need that level of creativity to give Ronaldo that service, because there's been games this season where he hasn't scored, where he hasn't got the service. So I think having Jaden in the team definitely benefits us in that regard in terms of getting the service into the box and having Ronaldo take them half chances, because all he needs is a half chance to score a goal. Like I think, look, you've seen even like on Thursday night when I think it was Rashford that put in that cross for Ronaldo's goal. Ronaldo literally just one little dip of the shoulder and bang, it was in. Like literally half chance, split second finish. So I think you look at it, you just need Jaden to stay fit, because he's had an unlucky run at the start of the season. When you think about, he had injuries, he had, I think he had health issues start of the season as well. All these little things, he was in and out of the team. So like with Jaden at the moment, you're just hoping now he can stay in the team and keep this sustained level of form that he has right now. Because when you look at the level of fixtures we have coming up between now and March, we have a very favourable run. And under this new manager, with the new manager bounce, new system, new set of tactics, we can still make something out of this season. Now, I'm not saying win the title, because I think that's still a long way off, because you look at the points difference between us and the top three at the moment. We'd have to hope for all three of them to collapse, which I don't think can happen. But in terms of getting into the top four and win the trophy, I think that is still an expectation we can have, to kind of have the season be a respectable season, and definitely still a sustained run in the Champions League, because we topped our group. We're going to get a favourable draw going into the last 16. So get past the last 16, whatever can happen there, you don't know. It's knockout football. But Phil, I'm going to come to you on Sancho, because obviously he's pretty big price tag. Like, let's be honest, like £73 million, homegrown player. Do you think maybe it was a case that, yes, he was in the Bundesliga and he came there from a young age, now he's coming to the Premier League, and he's still a very young player. Do you think maybe in terms of culture, was it maybe a culture shock too, Jaden, in terms of the competitive nature of the Premier League, in terms of and the physicality? Do you maybe think it took him a while to maybe adjust to it, and that's why we're seeing only the best of Jaden now in terms of like 3 months into his Man United career?
It's a massive price tag, it is. So there's obviously a lot of expectation that comes with that. But on the flip side of that, he's a quality player, and I'm sure that he would have been aware of what the Premier League was like. The styles, the physicality, the speed. Obviously, he played international football as well. Played in the Champions League. So I wouldn't really, buy into that as much. I just feel as though watching Jaden in the earlier months, obviously there's been a lot of pressure with the club, not being, at the heights that the probably should have been, and some dodgy results. So confidence can be affected in that way as well. He's not had a run of games up until recently, where he's been, playing in his proper position, and getting that sort of run of games, which every player needs really to sort of get up to speed. But for me, I think just watching him, I always think that in an attacking position, we was always told, at Manchester United, when you're in them attacking positions, you're the people that make things happen. Go and express yourself. You're the ones that can take risks and sort of try and create an opportunity, or try and create something out of nothing. Because in the final third, if you lose the ball, the other team's not going to score straight away from that sort of breakdown in play. So we was always told, you guys are the ones that, get paid the big money, because you're the ones that can, effectively win us the game. I just think when I've watched Jaden, he's been a little bit sort of conservative up until recently. He's sort of, there's been a few times where I've looked at him and I've thought, go on, get at him or do something or try and create, and if he's getting sort of 15, 20 touches in the first half of the game, I'd be expecting him to sort of, be getting at least 2 or 3 shots and maybe, 3 or 4 crosses out of them 15, 20 touches. Whereas I think when I've watched him, I think a lot of the time he'll get it and he'll threaten to do something and just sort of keep it easy and, keep the ball moving and pass it. And for me, as a United fan, I want to be, on the edge of my seat like I have been previously with other players. And I think, he's going to do something. He's going to create a chance. So maybe, I'm hoping that, he's the penny's dropped with him now and he's sort of, got that little bit more confidence and he's up to speed and he can, start producing a little bit more of the stuff that we've seen when he was at Dortmund. Because obviously, if you watch some of the highlights from there, you can see he's full of confidence. He had Haaland in the middle who he was supplying, all the time. We've got similar players like Ronaldo and Cavani who, will thrive off them kind of crosses. So for me, he's started slow, but we're very hopeful that he can now kick on and he's obviously a world-class player. We've all seen what he can do. So just hoping that he sort of believes in himself a little bit more now and sort of takes a little bit more responsibility in terms of, himself trying to, put more of an impact on the game.
Yeah, 100%. I think if he starts influencing games more for us, we're going to see us have much better kind of outlet in terms of creativity. Because one thing about Fernandes, if you look at Bruno, like his chance creation numbers are off the scale. If you look at the most created chances, Bruno's right up there, and he seems to be that kind of real big focal point we have in the team. If we can get Jaden having that level of productivity that he had at Dortmund and stay on that same level as what Bruno is in terms of creating chances, Ronaldo, Cavani, Greenwood, whoever's up front is going to have, many chances to score goals in games. And it's not just off the cuff. It's sustained levels of pressure. And I think that's one thing Rangnick talked about yesterday in his press conference in terms of control, pressure. If you have these creative players there who can retain possession and create these chances, then look, our goal scoring is going to be off the charts. But it's just about implementing it and making sure, we have the right players in the team and there's a right balance. I think we're going to get that with Rangnick coming in. I was going to come to Red Guitarist's comment here this morning. He says, "Morning, guys. How long do you think before this group restarts to look like a Rangnick team, if at all? That being said, what are the realistic expectations this season? Top 4 and a cup." I'm just going to come to that question to Lee. Lee, what would be, in terms of how long it's going to take before we look like a Rangnick team? And then also, what do you think is realistic expectation Manchester United can kind of salvage their season at the moment?
I think you'll see, hopefully, you'll see glimpses tomorrow of. Sorry, I've just lost you a second there. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, it went just then. Yeah, I think hopefully you'll see glimpses tomorrow of how he wants his team to set up and how he wants to press, and we might see a little bit of a different way of playing. I think it's going to be a few weeks until that system is installed within the guys, and they're on the training field and they're playing together and they're knowing who to press and when such a person presses, where another guy covers round, and then philosophies will take a few weeks to be implemented. But hopefully from the get-go you'll see you'll see a change of probably a bit of change of pace. Hopefully, I think straight away we'll look like a tighter team under Rangnick. I think that's going to be one of his main philosophies. Is over the last over the whole season really, we've been miles too easy to play around. We've looked lethargic at times. I think that will stop now. I think he'll implement that straight away. I think one thing I think if he looks, for me, he looks like an old school old school head teacher, if you will, where if you don't implement the philosophies he wants you to play with on that field, and you go in at half time and you've not done what he wants you to do, I can imagine there being hell in that dressing room. Where I think that may have been missing the last couple of seasons. So that's a good thing for me. In terms of where we can go this season, me on a personal level, I'd just like to see us playing more competitive football, getting back to a team what retains the ball. we're not too easy to play around. We look like a Man United team. First and foremost, I would like to just see an improvement on the pitch. I think there is definitely possibilities of getting into that top 4. I don't think we'll get any better than top 4. But then again, you mentioned it just 5 minutes ago. The run of games we've got now is very favourable for Ralf Rangnick. If you look down, I've wrote it down. I think it's the 5th of March. We play City. And that really is the only game where, you know, from now till the 5th of March where I would expect to pick up at least a point, if not most of them games, 3 points from them all. So if you can hit the ground up and running, there's nothing saying that, you know, we'll not be in that top 4. And if the likes of Liverpool drop, or, you know, City or whoever drop a few points, we might be in there pushing to, you know, to get into the top 3 maybe. I think if we get anywhere past the top 4, it'll be an achievement this year. And always, if we win a cup, it'll be a bonus. But yeah, for me, I'm looking, like you said, top 4, and hopefully a cup and a good run in Europe. That's the best outcome for me. But really, all that aside, I just want to see us playing better football than we've played this season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think top 4 and running like a challenging for the FA Cup is minimum expectation now. Like even if at the time when Solskjaer was there and we were under pressure, that was still bare minimum. You know, I think you have to look at Ragnick's coming in. He's going to have the expectation. Our ownership will want Champions League. Like that. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. They'll want that. That's the crown jewel. And for them anyway, not for us. But like if you look at the overall, you know, fixture list, as you said, like we don't play a big 16 till March. And you look at the fixtures that we do have between now and then, kind of reminds me when Solskjaer actually took over as interim manager. Funnily enough, it was around this time, December 2018, you know, in terms of when he came in, he had a very favourable fixture list, funny enough, until March, the following year, the 2019. Kind of reminds me of that. And I think Rangnick definitely has a very favourable fixture list to make something out of the season. And if the board do give him, the fact he's staying on as a consultant, surely the board would give him some money in January to maybe improve the squad, maybe in midfield, to help implement this style. Because I think Fred, is going to actually, as much as like give him sticks sometimes, I think he's going to massively improve under this manager because the style of play that he plays. I think Fred's going to be a very important player in this squad in terms of winning the ball back quickly. He seems to be improving anyway in the last couple of weeks. Fred, he's played quite well, played very well against Villarreal, played well against Chelsea, and especially in the second half against Arsenal, I thought was very good in midfield. So he could be someone that could be very crucial in a Rangnick system. And I think Bruno as well. If you look at the kind of way pressing is, Bruno's probably our hardest working player at this moment in time in terms of pressing from the front and just getting about the pitch. And I think he's someone who maybe sometimes can be a bit erratic in terms of some of his decision making, but with a bit of coaching from Rangnick, I think in terms of being a bit like pressing at calculated times and maybe taking that a few less risks sometimes, I think Bruno Fernandes can definitely thrive in this system because of his quality as a footballer and as a character and a leader. I think Bruno is one of them players in the squad who demands the best standards. And I think under this manager, I think he could actually thrive. So yeah, for me, I'm in agreement. I think top 4 most certainly, and I would say let's go for the FA Cup. Do you know what I mean? We haven't won it now for a couple of years, and it's a trophy that we used to often win. So why not? Why not go for it? Let's get these players winning the trophy. Do you know what I mean? Ronaldo's not going to come here to not win anything. You know, I think Cristiano is someone who would want something to show for at the end of the season, which I will touch on Cristiano after this as well. But Phil, would you agree? Would top 4 and the FA Cup and a run in Europe, is that realistic at the moment, or do you think maybe is 4th place just the ask this season now, considering the way the top 3 have kind of pulled away from the rest of the pack this season?
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult, obviously, to sort of, claw back all them points on the top 3 that we've just mentioned. But as we've just said there, with the run of games that we've got now, I think we've got to be, looking at trying to pick up as many points as we can now until sort of March when we start playing a few of the bigger teams and just see where it takes us. Obviously, this new style and new sort of manager coming in now will sort of hopefully thrive and sort of can hit the ground running, and we can sort of, as Lee said, see some better performances in terms of what we want to see from a Manchester United team. A lot of energy, a lot of attacking play, and being more solid at the back and not conceding silly goals like we've seen sort of in the last few months. And just getting that consistency really all round, because I'm at the sort of stage at the minute where every time I sort of watch United, I'm sort of don't know what to expect, don't know sort of, what kind of team, what kind of performance, what kind of, scoreline it's going to be. Whereas, you want to be at least seeing that little bit of consistency so you can at least, sort of prepare for, what kind of a performance it's going to be. And I think obviously under Ragnick now, I think he's going to bring that in, and a lot of the players all sort of need to sort of sharpen up and sort of get that energy levels to the required for his style of play, because if you're not up to speed quick with this fella, as we've said, I think he will he won't hold any punches. He'll sort of treat everyone the same, and no matter who you are, if you're not pulling your weight, then you'll either be out the team, or he'll be looking at trying to replace people with players that can do what he's asking. So yeah, for me, I think top four would be a realistic target, even though we're a little bit off that at the moment. And yeah, winning a cup, I think that would be a great achievement this year, just in terms of getting that bit of silverware back in, because obviously we've not won a trophy now for quite a few years, which is not like Manchester United, where we're sort of usually picking up trophies sort of year in year out, and that's what we need to get back to doing, and hopefully Ralph's going to be the person to sort of bring that success back in.
Definitely. And one word I would use in terms of Manchester United this moment is identity. I think we need to get an identity back in terms of a sustained way of playing. You mentioned, Phil, you don't like sometimes before a United match, you don't know what's going to happen. But I think Ralph will bring that back. I know it's only a 6.5 month period that he has, but I think he will give us an identity. Now it might take more than 1 or 2 weeks before we actually fully see what he's about in terms of what players he's going to fancy in terms of our starting 11, in terms of what way he'll have us playing, whether he'll stick with a 4-3-3 like he has done before, or does he go with the 4-2-2-2 system. Depends on what he sees on the training ground and what he maybe thinks will suit these players best. One thing I will definitely say keep an eye on is the goalkeeper situation, because David De Gea he's been top class this season. He's been quite good, but in a Rangnick system, Rangnick likes his keepers who step out. I can almost be that ball-playing goalkeeper as well, and goalkeepers come out off their line. It's one thing De Gea doesn't do, and I think my concern is here, does Rangnick maybe look at Henderson coming in? Could that potentially happen? That's one thing I would say, guys, keep an eye on that in these next couple of weeks and months in terms of Joe Rangnick and his goalkeeping choice. Because for me, I think De Gea deserves to stay in goal at the moment. I think he's been top class this season, and look again, Joe Thursday night, that save that he made was fantastic. But definitely there's something to keep an eye on in terms of the goalkeeping situation, in terms of David. But got to talk about one man, former teammate, obviously, if you both, is Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring him up on every single podcast, because every week he's breaking boundaries and breaking records and doing all sorts. Lee, obviously, look, 801 goals, career goals as a forward. He just keeps defying the odds, keeps defying expectations, and people seem to be, saying he's finished. People keep saying that he's the problem at Manchester United, but Cristiano Ronaldo for me right now is the vaccine. What are your thoughts on Ronaldo breaking that 801 goal record, and this his overall contribution to Man United this season?
Yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal, and let's be honest now. All this rubbish, and I nearly swore then, because it really does get me angry when I look on social media about Ronaldo's the problem. How the hell has Ronaldo been the problem this year? Yeah, he's at an age where he might not press as much as we'd like him to press. That's going to go now because in the system, the whole team's going to press a lot more than they've been pressing, which is going to help him out a lot more. They're going to get the ball into him a lot quicker. And Luke, if we didn't have him this season, where would we be? Where would the goals be coming from? You know what I mean? He's as old as me. You know what I mean? And he's still banging them in for fun. It doesn't need to be involved, all the game to score 2 and 3 goals in a game. He just needs that one sniff of a chance, and it's going to be on target, at least on target, if not landing in the back of the net. Like I said, all this has been a bad buy, and it's affected the team, and it's just, for me, it's a load of rubbish. We would have been without him and without, like you just mentioned, De Gea this season. I would hate to think where we would be in that league, because they're the 2 players for me which is absolutely shone this season. And may it continue, And I think people have been saying under this system with Rangnick coming in that Ronnie could potentially suffer. I think it'll be great for him. I honestly do. I think if the wide players are pressing more and we've got more possession of the ball and we're getting the ball into the areas where he's going to be a lot quicker, after, like I said, the 8-second rule, what he has about that's when we can score goals. He's going to get that service a lot quicker than he's going to, than he's been getting it before. I think he'll thrive under this system.
Yeah, I definitely think he will as well. And if you look at that 4-2-2-2 system that he does play, he's not the only forward up there. He's not the only attacking midfielder up there. Like, you have them 2 sitters in midfield who will stick to their position and they will hold. And then you have the 4 attackers up there. Obviously, the 2 kind of wide players are more inverted, but maybe to put Cavani beside him, in the front too, because Cavani's a serial presser. Like, Cavani's pressing attributes are fantastic. You have players like Sancho there, Bruno there, in and around that. They will press. They will make up for Ronaldo's, let's say, lack of pressing. Like, when I listen to people talk about Ronaldo and pressing, it drives me bonkers, because at 21, Ronaldo wasn't a presser when he was really hitting his prime at United. We had players like Jason Park. We had players, like Tevez, we Rooney, players like that they'd do all the hard work around them. They'd create chances, and he'd put them away.
Look at Teddy Sheringham. Teddy Sheringham was never a presser. One of the best players we've ever produced in this country. He's adapted his game not to be a presser anymore. He's adapted his game to be a centre forward and score goals. And he's doing exactly what that says on the tin. He's getting a chance and he's scoring all our goals. Let the other guys press around him. Let him be our main striker. It works for me. It works.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And again, when we have hard-working players there, such as the Sanchos and the Brunos, they can do that collectively in the press. Like, even Thursday night, Ronaldo was pressing. Ronaldo was working hard. The people say that he doesn't work for the team. It's a myth. If there's another player in world football at the moment who got Ballon d'Or just recently, and if anyone watched the game against Man City there last week, are people talking about Messi being a problem? I watched Ruben Diaz walk past Messi with the ball, bring it out from the back, and he was strolling. Yeah. But because it's Cristiano Ronaldo and it's Manchester United, it'll make headlines. And the fact that he's a Manchester United player, people are going to throw that scrutiny and try to throw him under the bus. But look, Ronaldo is not the problem in this Man United team this season, because if he was the problem, it's just wrong. He's the top goal scorer for Man United this season. He's dragged us into the Champions League knockout rounds. How is he the problem with this football club? It's bitterness. That's what it is. It's bitterness. Look, I'll leave that one there. But Phil, obviously, for you being a forward, and you've obviously played alongside Cristiano at the football club, and you've always talked about his determination and his kind of obsession with reputation in terms of working on everything and being kind of the first on the training ground and the last leave. When you first seen Cristiano walk through them doors at Old Trafford and Carrington, and you seen kind of that young, kind of brash Portuguese player coming in, could you have ever imagined he would have got to these heights and breaking 801 goals in his football career?
No, definitely not. I mean, when he first came to the club, you could see the ability and the talent, and you could see glimpses of what kind of player he was going to be. But then, to obviously see fast forward, to where he is today, and obviously all the goals that he scored and the standards that he set, and obviously his own will and desire and sort of, that sort of, fire in his belly to keep playing as long as he can, it is extraordinary. And, he's somebody who, as a young player, and obviously still playing at this age now to the level that he is, it's a sort of, example, and he's a sort of, role model for all these young players to sort of look at him and say, well, if you want to hit the top and you want to play at the level that he's played at for, such a long period of time and still be producing the performances and the goals and, all that kind of thing, then, there's no other person in world football for me who ticks all the boxes. He does everything on and off the pitch, exemplary. And for me, looking back at obviously the time when I was at the club and sort of getting to know him, he had that appetite to want to learn. He come to the club and he was a little bit, at times, trying to do too much. We've obviously talked on this before. Once he got that out of his game and sort of, started working on, less is more and just doing, the right things at the right time, what a player he was. And obviously he's just kicked on year after year from that. And obviously looking at him now and all this stuff about him not pressing, I agree with obviously both of you there saying that he's definitely not the problem. He's our sort of talisman. He's the person that, who wins us games, week in, week out. You've seen the goals that he scored in big moments, which is what he does, especially in the Champions League. That's his bread and butter. He just seems to keep reproducing, like it's nothing, which is unbelievable. And for me, I actually think, when you get to this kind of age, obviously I can relate to this myself, still playing and, playing in them forward areas. He's just a little bit more clever. He's not going to run around and sort of press for 90 minutes because, that's not his capabilities anymore. He's late 30s and he's using his brain and he's being clever and putting himself in positions where he's conserving energy to get on the ball. And when he gets on that ball, he's going to make the difference and he's going to be the one that's going to score that goal. And you're seeing it the other night against Arsenal, getting into the box, getting in a position where he's in between defenders. And when he gets a chance, there's nobody better in world football. He always hits the target and, he's an absolute joy to sort of, I've played with and to watch and to sort of, see how much he's, having an effect on some of the players at the club at the moment. I think he's been an absolute revelation coming into the club and giving us sort of that person who's going to sort of give us an opportunity to win a trophy this year, because without his goals and without his sort of experience and sort of leadership skills, for me, I think we'd be, as well as De Gea, we'd be, mid-table, and we'd probably have no chance really of doing anything this year without him. And it's obviously, credit to him. And obviously for me, he's going to keep breaking records and keep, setting the bar as high as he can, because that's what he does. And all this criticism, I've said it before, he thrives off this and he uses it as fuel, and he loves proving people wrong, which he'll, continue to do, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. And look, again, if we didn't have Ronaldo or David De Gea this season, mid-table, maybe just below mid-table, if we be honest. You look at the winners and match saves that David De Gea has had, we'd be mid-table and maybe even below that. So, look, he's not the problem. He's been the solution this season. He's dug us out many times. And look, let's hope under Rangnick now that we can have the players who can work hard around him and he can do what he does. Because like I look at Ronaldo now, it's kind of similar to Van Nistelrooy in terms of when Van Nistelrooy is at the football club. He wasn't someone who was massive hard worker, presser, kind of that erratic striker, but he was a finisher. He was a marksman. And that's what Ronaldo's doing now. In terms of you give him a chance in the box, he's got to score. Rude was like that as well up front. Phil, you can attest to this. Like, Rude was someone who you give him that one chance, he'd put it in the back of the net. This is literally the same thing with Cristiano now. You get Ronaldo into the right position. He's intelligent the way he moves, the way he glides into the box. We just need our players to be more intelligent on the ball, more intelligent with their pressing, and then Ronaldo will be in these right positions where we can score. And I think under Rangnick and under his coaching style, we're going to see that in this team. So look, I've no doubt Cristiano will keep this up this season. And look, when it comes to Champions League games under the lights with Cristiano Ronaldo on the team, you never know, because he just turns it up in every single Champions League game he plays in. And I think before every game we should just play the Champions League anthem in the dressing room, and I think we win every single game because Ronaldo seems to be doing it all in the Champions League this year. But just before, obviously, we kind of end the podcast, obviously I want to talk about Sunday against Crystal Palace League, because obviously they've actually been doing quite okay under Patrick Vieira, and he seems to be playing kind of a lot of young players, and they seem to be picking up quite a few results over kind of the last couple of weeks. For you, looking at the way Palace played, their counter-attacking style, and they seem to be a team who've been a kind of bit of an Achilles heel for Man United in these kind of last couple of weeks. Are you confident that we can go out there and get the 3 points? Obviously, we've had 1 day under this new manager. We're probably not going to have much. He's not going to have much time to kind of implement his kind of style of play into this team. Are you concerned with our recent record against Crystal Palace that we could potentially drop points Sunday? Or do you think the overall location, Old Trafford, new manager, that think it may be too much for Palace on Sunday?
Look, I've been concerned all season, which I've not hid that. No matter who we've played, all season I've been concerned before kick-off. I've not been confident of a game yet, to be honest. It looks like, fingers crossed again, we've had a bit of a shift. We look like we've tightened up a little bit. I'm very reluctant to say this because I said it against when we was playing against Watford. I thought, we'd get a reaction at the team and that we'd kick on and we'd hammer Watford. I feel hopefully we're going to do. Obviously, that did not happen whatsoever. It was the complete opposite happened and we fell apart. I hope what I said at that game happens against Palace. I hope we get a reaction. New manager. The players are going to want to impress. They're going to want to stay in that starting 11. Again, there should be no reason whatsoever why we don't turn up and take all 3 points. On new manager, guys are going to want to impress. We've got the players there to run over them if they play the way they can play. Fingers crossed, mate. For me, I'd be disappointed. I'd be very disappointed if we don't pick up a result at playing against Palace tomorrow.
Yeah, I think for me, like Palace have a couple of players who I think could threaten us in midfield. I think Conor Gallagher, he's been outstanding for them in the field this year. He's been someone who's been scoring goals, creating chances, and very good young player, promising young player. I think Vieira's given some of these players new lease on life. Obviously, Zaha, he's always a threat. Like Wilfried Zaha is always a threat. And look, coming back to Old Trafford, obviously former club, big day of new manager coming in. He'd love to spoil the party, 100%. I think you look at Palace, if we leave ourselves too exposed, we could be caught in the counter, because that's one thing Crystal Palace are very efficient at, is counter-attacking and that quick transition from defence to attack on the counter with their pace up front with likes of Ayus and Zaha's up front. They can be quite threatening in that regard. But I look at the way we've been playing the last couple of weeks in terms of how organised we've been. I think if we can continue that, we can definitely get the 3 points. And Old Trafford is going to be bouncing on Sunday. Like Red Army, they're going to be they're going to be getting the team through the game. Like one thing I'll say, regardless of the way we played on Thursday, we played fantastically well. Our fans were brilliant on Thursday. The atmosphere was electric. And from minute 1 to minute 90, like they fully got behind the team. The atmosphere is fantastic. And one thing I never fault our fan base with is the atmosphere in Old Trafford. It's always great. And with this new kind of era starting at Manchester United now, the buzz in Old Trafford, I think, alone could win us that game. The fact that our fans will be that 12th man and get us through. But let's hope we can go and get 3 points, because for me, I'd like to see us maybe play a Rangnick system on Sunday. I know he's only had a day and a half, but maybe I'd like to see us play that 4-2-2-2 and implement that system and see where we can go with it, because I think it's no better time than the present. I know he hasn't had much time, but let's try it anyway. There's a new era, favorite run of fixtures. Let's get a win straight away, and then let's see what a Ralf Rangnick team looks like at Old Trafford, because I think that would be absolutely fantastic to see. Phil, in terms of Palace on Sunday, are you confident that we can go out and get the result? Because we've been on a bit of a decent run lately. We've beaten last year's Europa League winners. Arguably should have beaten the European champions last week, and then we've beaten Arsenal, who've been on quite a decent run of form as of late.
Yeah, as you say, I think the last 3 games we've looked a lot more solid and a lot more sort of like a Man United team that I'd want to watch. I think, the Palace game is a potential banana skin. I think they have obviously, they beat City a few weeks ago, which was a shock result. But I think on the day, Palace have got, very good players who can, hurt you. And as you mentioned, Conor Gallagher and Wilfried Zaha being probably the standout 2 players, which United will probably be looking out for. I think, they're going to be a good test for us at this moment in time. But for me, I think, we need to sort of just concentrate on ourselves at the moment. I think, you can look too much into the other teams and how they, are going to set up and players and stuff. I think if we concentrate on ourselves and we all perform to the levels that, we know that we can, then, there's not going to be any teams that are going to get near us until, March. I think that run of games that we've got now could be a massive turning point. And I think I'd like to see, as you just mentioned there, I think I'd like to see, Rangnick come in and change that formation straight away and just get straight into it. There's not really much to lose. I think, that, if you're going to do it eventually, you may as well do it straight away from the get-go and just see what happens, because then you can see which players are suited to it, which players, thrive, and which players are going to maybe, need to drop out or, aren't going to be able to cut it. And I think for me, we need to now, be serious in terms of our performances. I think a lot of players have sort of been, I wouldn't say going through the motions as such, but, they've sort of not, been pulling the weight and putting in as consistent performances as they should be. I think now there's not going to be any, that's not going to be allowed. I don't think, this fella's going to let people, stroll through games and put, 6 out of 10s in. You've got to be working your socks off every single week. And I think if we do that in every position, and we've obviously got Ronaldo who can, produce in the final third, then for me, we've no reason why we shouldn't, be picking up points against the likes of Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I think, look, beating teams like this should be a bread and butter. Lots, no disrespect to Crystal Palace, but you look at the individual quality that we have in the team. On paper, we should win these games and at a canter. I think now we see Rangnick put his stamp on it. Let this be a period where he can see what players are going to suit his system. No better time than the present, because we're coming towards a Christmas period that's a very congested fixture list. We need to hit the ground running. And I think Ralf will learn a lot about these players. It's great that he was in the stands on Thursday. And he said he's been watching some of these performances as of late. He mentioned in the presser yesterday, but the games against Liverpool, City, etc. He's seen this, and he probably already has an idea of who he wants to be in that system and who he wants to be in this team. So for me, looking forward to tomorrow, looking forward to seeing how we get on, and looking forward to see Ralf Rangnick on the sideline. It's going to be surreal, really, seeing a manager from the outside being on the sideline for the last 3 years. We've had Ollie, we've had Carrick, and now we've German manager, completely different philosophy, and Manchester United's complete 360 Rafa doing. So, look, let's see how we get on. Exciting times to be a Man United fan, most definitely. But I'm going to, just before we wrap up the end of the podcast, just going to get both of the lads start 11 prediction and then also a score prediction, because this is going to be wild now, because new manager, new start. These score predictions might be getting tasty, so can't wait to hear what the lads think. Going to come to Lee, you first of all. Give me your start 11 and also following that, your score prediction.
Thought of a starting. I've not. Sorry, mate. I know you just muted me. I've not even thought of a starting 11 this week. With it being a new manager, because it would just be a complete guess because I don't know what formation or whatever he's going to play. I'll just try and think of one off the top of my head. I think he'll stick. Well, we're limited with the back four anyway, so I think he may carry on with Telles and Dalot. Keep giving them a chance. They played well the other day, so why not? He's going to be the game in the nets. Probably he'll stick with Lindelof and Maguire, maybe. I think he'll probably stick with Fred and McTominay. I've been championing Fred all season. As you know, I think he's been made a scapegoat all season. I don't think he's the player what we particularly need to push on, but I think he's probably been one of our better midfield players, and he's started to show that now, which I'm glad people have started recognising that. So I think he'll probably stick with that. I think he'll keep Jaden playing on the right. I think he'll have Rashford still playing on the left, and Cristiano Ronaldo definitely has got to start for me. That's just a guess though, because I don't know what formation he's going to play until I've watched a couple of games. I can't really think of what difference he's going to do. As a score prediction though, I would probably go for I'd probably go for 3-1 Man United. Optimistic, I know, but I'd probably go for a Man United 3-1 win.
3-1 win. Good start to the Rangnick era, and both with a Fred goalie. Maybe Fred goal start off the era.
No, I don't think Fred's going to score at all. But I'd love to see him score. I mean, I just like the way he plays. I just wish he had a bit more on the ball, really, which I hope that gets developed, because I do like him as a midfield player. I think he's got that tenacity to be a real good player, and I think that Rangnick will bring it out of him. I just hope he develops more on the ball, which, to be fair, the last couple of games, he's put a few of the lads through from midfield, and it created some great chances. So I'd like to see that side of his game develop a little, but yeah, I'm just glad he's getting a little bit of recognition, because I do like him in there. So yeah, and if he does score, mate, I'll be made up.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you'll be getting him first message on Sunday if he scores. 100%. Phil, give me your starting 11, and also just your score prediction there.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually feel as though he'll stick with the same team that started against Arsenal. I don't really see him making any changes from that, just because I think it was a good performance. It was a tough game, which could have probably gone either way at some points in the game. But I just feel as though he'll give them players the chance to carry on that sort of winning run. So for me, I think the team that started against Arsenal, just to carry on against Palace, and I actually think that it's going to be a bit more of a tighter game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals. I'm going to go for 1-0 to United. I don't really think that United sort of do these kind of results enough. When you see a title-winning team where they can where they can just grind out a result even if things aren't going your way, and maybe the goals aren't coming. I think tough game against Palace, who were quite organised, and we'll probably try and play on the counter attack themselves. I think it's going to be a sort of bit of a nitty gritty game, but I think United will win. I just think they'll nick a goal late on. Obviously Ronaldo for me, somebody who comes up with the big goals and big moments. I think he's going to nick one late on in the second half, and we'll just settle for a 1-0.
That again, another late Ronaldo goal, more defying the odds, and be interested to hear what Sky Sports say about him then tomorrow. Be interested to see what they say again after scoring a goal and what the opinion would be after the game. But I myself, my starting line prediction, I'm just going to go quickly. De Gea, Dalot, hopefully Varane is fit, but if not, I'll go with Lindelof, Maguire, Tellez left back. Then I'm actually going to go with the 4-2-2-2 system. Sorry, I'm going to go for the Rangnick system, even though he mightn't do it, but I'd like to see it. So I'm going to go Van de Beek and Fred in the middle, the two attacking midfielders. In that system, then I'll have Sancho and Bruno Fernandes, and in the front two, I'd have Rashford and I would have Cristiano Ronaldo up top. And so I have a lot of workers around them in that system. Obviously, Van de Beek works very hard in midfield as well. Also, one thing he will be able to do, the one thing McTominay won't be able to do in this system, help us retain possession and keep the ball ticking. I think Van de Beek will do that. I think he's going to be a beneficiary of Rangnick's style of play. And I think we may see the best of Donny Van de Beek in these next couple of weeks and months on a Ralf Rangnick. And I think no better time to do it now. Get Van de Beek and Fred in midfield. And then the Bruno and Sancho will be them two attackers in attacking midfield positions. And then obviously Rashford and Ronaldo up top as a front two. So then again, you have all them hard workers for Ronaldo, a lot of chance creation, and in terms of control and sustained pressure, I think that 11 gives us that control and that pressure. But that's just us. That's us here today, guys. Thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Thanks very much, for the guys, everyone getting in the comments there as well. Bat time Vaughan literally just come in just last minute on the podcast here. Says, hello, lads. At least Phil is feeling Christmassy. So is Lee as well. You might have missed the start of the podcast. Lee is also has the Christmas decorations. Lee has that up there as well. So, look, I'm the Grinch here today. I have no Christmas decorations here today, but we will next week on the podcast 100%. But thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Do check out our history section on the channel. And Wayne is doing brilliant content with Paddy Barkley at the moment in terms of covering the history of Manchester United. Quite brilliant, very insightful stuff. So do go over and check that out on our channel. There's more content coming there as well. And look, as always, we'll be back on Friday with our Friday podcast. And we will be discussing, obviously, this game that was happening on Sunday, but also looking ahead to more games under Ralf Rangnick. So do check that out. And also, we do have more exciting content coming up with myself on the podcast. I know Wayne will be announcing that soon. So do check that out, because we have another podcast coming very soon, and very excited for that to be released. But thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Hit that like button below Phil, and also to the right of him as well. The subscribe button is there with the bell notification. So do hit that, because then you will get a notification for every bit of content that goes out live. And also don't forget to check us out on our audio platforms, because our audio podcast is doing quite well. The number one independent Manchester United podcast out there. So look, I do appreciate everyone's support, continued support for our podcast here and the rest of the show as we do on the channel. So do hit that subscribe button on both video and audio platforms, because we have a lot more coming in these next couple of weeks. But thanks very much, everyone, for watching, and hope you all enjoy your weekend. And let's hope Manchester United go out and get the 3 points. Until then, guys, thanks very much.